in Nauvoo, Illinois, the White House Inn. There's Big Brother coming out and bringing the ice chest down as we prepare to depart. It's been a really good stay here. What'd you think of this place, George?
Well, as you can see, this is the White House where George and Vince slumbered last night, and it was absolutely exquisite. Couldn't have been better.
All right, thank you. Okay, here's a little bit of a front view of the grounds and the building, the White House.
Okay, here we are in downtown, beautiful downtown Nauvoo, and right across the street is the historic hotel, Nauvoo Hotel, and dinner house where we dined last night in excellent cuisine. And interestingly enough, on the side of the hotel is an advertisement for Bull Durham smoking tobacco.
It's a real pretty one.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a local citizen, a merchant, entering her place of business on this fine Wednesday morning. Downtown Nauvoo.
Okay, this is the home of Winslow Farr. This is a private residence, so you can't go in and see it, but gives you an idea of the architecture and structure a little bit. And this is the home of Heber C. Kimball. It looks like this one's open. Yeah, you can go in and see it. He was the first counselor to President Brigham Young. We'll come back and take a look inside of this one. Okay, we're going down the street here. This is Partridge Street. We're passing Hotchkiss Street.
One block.
Here's the home of David C. Yearsley. This is the home of William Green. Here again, a little two-story brick place.
This is the beard of George Earnhardt.
Now this is the visitor center in Nauvoo, and it's a whopper. It's a big one. Church doesn't do anything shabby.
All right, let's check it out.
Okay, this is the inside of the visitor center in Nauvoo. Beautiful. Of course, the church doesn't do anything shabby. Have a Krista statue over there. We'll get over and see it. This young lady here is a missionary. She's going to tell us what's going on.
You bet.
Okay.
What's going on here?
What's your name?
Sister Johnson.
Sister Johnson. Okay.
From Sacramento.
Here from Sacramento. Okay. Beautiful.
Then went back and married daughter and married
Real quick. This is Sister Johnson. She's been our guide here for the last few minutes. She's from Sacramento, California, actually from Carmichael.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I sure am. It's God's country.
And she's been out on her mission about a year. She's not even trunky yet because Nauvoo is such a wonderful place.
Can never leave this place. It's wonderful.
All right.
Great. I'll be giving you a tour, show you the film in a minute.
Thank you. This gives you an idea of the theater. And this is a big theater. Ah, there's Big Brother up there in the middle of the theater. All right.
Yo.
They even have a little soft stage up here, carpeted, with a large curtain. I assume that they open this curtain before they show the film, which is very reasonable.
Hey, bro.
Oh, being paged here, just a minute.
Hey, bro, come up and watch this film.
Okay.
There's people coming in.
Oh, Well, all right.
Now, tell me where you're from. Some of you from Mount Pleasant, Iowa.
Waco,
And we expected he would die before the day was out. But the Lord spared him in answer to prayer.
As soon as the season would permit, we had to clear brush and briars from our city lot, which was no small job, but the prospect of a home of our own gave us hope. We drained the swamp and cleared the land, and Brother Joseph renamed the place Nauvoo, a Hebrew word for beautiful place.
Things are improving daily here. The city has been surveyed and will be laid out most beautifully with streets running north and south and east and west, dividing the city into 4-acre lots.
This is a model from the Nauvoo temple. This tells us a little bit about who are the Latter-day Saints. A little bit of the Joseph Smith story. Latter-day Saints have been called Mormons because of their belief in the Book of Mormon. That volume of scripture, like the Bible, testifies of Jesus Christ. Latter-day Saints are members of Christ's church in the last days. Members in the early days similarly were called saints. Through Vietnam or through the Korean War. This is a 105 millimeter. This is really the standard because it's a little more portable. But these things are just, I fired many of these from these, and lots of the 8-inch, but not on that extended carriage. We had the self-propelled 8-inch weapons that we used in Korea.
Now, that narration was brought to you courtesy of an ex-Army artillery officer. Here is the entrance to the Rock Island Arsenal Museum. However, I thought that Stephen Payne, who cannot be here today, may be interested in this fellow over here. This is probably their mascot.
Would you have a light?
A light?
Yeah, for like a cigarette?
No, we don't, actually.
Got one on me. Some tanks and stuff. There's a 130 millimeter gun. I don't know too much about that one. That predates me. And this looks like a Toad M115 8-inch howitzer. We don't have the Toad 8-inch in the inventory anymore, but we do have the self-propelled 8-inch, which is the most accurate field artillery weapon in the world. That'll put a round through an open standard size window at 10,000 meters. And meters is approximately 6.5 miles.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, this building, which you see in the background, is the clock tower building, which was the first permanent structure completed at the arsenal. This building, used first for a storehouse, was completed in 1867. Tradition holds that timber from the ruins of Fort Armstrong were used in the construction of the building's basement window frames. During the 1870s and 80s, it It supplied ordnance to the Army in the West. Easily recognizable by water, the clock tower became one of the major landmarks of the area. After World War I, the Army proposed the old limestone structure be raised. However, objections from local residents saved the building. Since the construction of Lock and Dam number 15 in the early 1930s, the clock tower has been the home of the Rock Island District U.S. Corps of Civil Engineers.
Closer.
Here you can see the bridge ahead of us swinging into position so that we can use it again. They've had a reason for moving it out. Probably a ship came through or something. That's kind of interesting. This is Bettendorf. Got a view of some nice homes overlooking the Mississippi.
Here's one coming out. There's a couple of them right there.
Yep. Just nice homes. What do you think of those homes, George?
Bettendorf welcomes you. Well, I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, it's a funeral home.
Yeah, wouldn't you know it? Some of the nicest places in a small town, and coming in is always a local funeral home. Not exactly your sought after bed and breakfast. Bed only, no breakfast.
Well, I think you can rest in peace in those places.
There are people dying to get in there.
So much for the morbid humor. I think we'll just kind of turn it off from this point and let it go at that. Okay, this big factory you see over here on the side is the Alcoa aluminum factory. I don't think they make aluminum in there, but they probably make aluminum products. It's a big factory. Yeah. Further continuation of the Alcoa plant. It's a whopper. I mean, this thing is big. Probably make all sorts of aluminum products here.
Well, why don't you wrap it up?
Okay, we're about 3 miles out of LeClaire, Iowa. We're going to go see the Buffalo Bill Museum in LeClaire. Oh, I'm sorry. William Cody Museum.
AKA.
Also known as Buffalo Bill. Got some strange looking cranes over here.
Good shot of the river.
Yeah. You can see a tugboat down there. This is really kind of pretty along here. That's part of the Mississippi River. Down here we have a little bit of road construction, slowing down the traffic a bit. Haven't had a lot of that on our trip, but just enough to make it interesting. Okay, this is a barge out on the Mississippi River. This is a Floyd H. Blask barge, or tugboat, pushing that barge. There he is, pushing along. Boat down, see it around the corner. Coming up on the Buffalo Bill Museum. Right next to some Mississippi. It says closed, George. We just had such excellent success on this vacation, and we pulled into the Buffalo Bill Museum. The thing's then closed, and we're saying, oh, bummer. Then I told George, I says, the way things have gone on this vacation, this thing probably opens at noon. It's now 5 minutes till. I went up and checked the time, the hours on it, it opens at noon. There's some more activity on the river. You can see a tugboat just pushing a big old barge along. Can't make out what's on the barge, but it looks kind of interesting. Okay, here's the barge coming around the backside of our dock and boat. I want to get the tugboat here. which will be in view in a few seconds. Move that down here just a little bit. There she comes. Ingram Barge Company, R. Clayton, reporter. That's a good sized tugboat. It's a good sized barge. Thing's a 1/4 of a mile long. Right here on the mighty Mississippi, just outside of, over in Iowa, and that across the river is Illinois. In fact, just to remind us we're in Iowa, there's the Iowa state flag right up there. What a scene. We're even protected by this anti-aircraft artillery here. Here's a monument in tribute to the brave men and women of the city and township of LeClaire who served this country. Okay, this is the Twilight, which is the Mississippi Riverboat. It's not running yet. The season hasn't started. That won't start until Labor Day. And as you can see, today's date is May 7th, 1998. Memorial Day. That's right. That starts the season. Okay. So you can see in the background here, we've got, this is the Lone Star, which was a functioning sternwheeler. This was built in 1894 and ran the river until the 1970s, at which time they put it in dry dock up here at the museum. So we might get a closer look at that as we go along here.
Well, we're coming into Clinton, Iowa, just north of Davenport and LeClaire, and it appears to be a rather heavy industrial area. And we just passed a DuPont plant that was belching smoke, and more in a minute. Yeah, here we go. Shot it on the factory on the roadside.
Hey George, there's a subway.
Oh, Vince has pointed out to me that the largest chain of restaurants in the United States, exceeding McDonald's, if one can believe that, is the Subway. And we saw a Subway in every town. Another large, more of this industrial area. I don't know if I can get that or not. Try and see over here. Coming up on right there. Wide angle, is it? Yeah, that's a good place over there. You betcha. Perhaps the one thing here in Clinton that we're not picking up is the odor and the smell. Well, I guess stench would be the word for it. Not unlike our current president, his namesake. Say it again.
That's the public library in Clinton.
Kind of a nice building.
Built in 1903. It's a granite block building.
Little shot of the town here.
Hey, Mom was built in 1903 in Iowa too.
Oops. Okay, we're now leaving Iowa and a little town called Samoa. Samoa? Cracking up Vince over here.
I'm not going to stay here because you can't pronounce it.
I can't stay here because I can't pronounce it. I have an aversion to staying in places where I can't pronounce the name. Wait, we're driving across the Mississippi, heading into Illinois, and on our way up to Highway 20 and bigger and better things. Yep, there's the old tower. Shot it in. Welcome. Water tower. Yeah, we might even pop into the hopping shop here.
Pop in the hopping shop.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, look, there's a subway
Right in the middle of all this.
right in the middle of historic Galena.
This is Galena, Illinois, birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant. We'll be going to his home here before too long. He's invited us over for a little visit. What's that?
This is billed as the town that time forgot.
Okay, this is in Galena, Illinois, birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant. Here's the Dowling House, which is Galena's oldest house. It's open to the public. This gives you a little idea of the street. Main street through town. It's really quite quaint.
Here's some more of Galena, driving up on Bench Street. Then slightly interesting. Let's see.
This is the fire department, Turner Hall, which is a central hall in the city. Still used, still functioning. The old dances there. You can actually rent the hall for weddings, stuff like that.
Yeah, one in the town.
Here's the Galena History Museum, George.
Brought that back from the White House with him. At that time, he was about 5'8" and only weighed 135 pounds. Generally, the men were about 5'7", the women only 5 foot. Now, of course, he picked up a habit when he was in the Civil War of smoking. So one of the other interpreters, because she, Sheila? Yes. You want to take these gentlemen through?
Sure. Okay.
She's off a break. I'm going to go right on break.
Okay.
So
Well, that'll be just fine.
I just told them about the library. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you doing?
This is Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
And that was just at the turn of the century, this home was. Actually, the house itself was built in 1860, which was the same year that General Grant moved to Galena. And he actually rented a very small, modest home on the west side of town here that year. He's originally from St. Louis, born and raised, born and raised in Ohio. He later spent time in St. Louis. But he did go to West Point. He graduated about mid in rank in his class. And he also fought in the Mexican War. That was during the 1840s. But after 15 years of service, approximately, including West Point, he decided to hang it up and just retire from the Army, because he truly did not believe that the military held any kind of a future for him. I'd say he was in for a big surprise, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He came to Galena after spending 6 very difficult years in the St. Louis area as a retired Army captain. He was kind of living hand to mouth, basically, down there. Couldn't find a niche in the civilian world. Tried a variety of occupations, but when 2 of his brothers, Orville and Simpson Grant, offered him partnership in a leather goods store they had downtown here in Galena, he didn't have to think twice about it, and he moved to Galena to work in this leather goods store and to work as an outside salesman in the house, about 5 to 6 feet. That's one way of distinguishing it. Know also that the home itself is a middle-class home. There are no servants' quarters in this house. Along with square footage, that's one of the ways you can determine a middle class from an upper class home. No electricity ever in the house, no indoor plumbing. There were outhouses, actually, in those days, and the Grants had one a ways from the home. What makes it very unique is the fact that it has almost all the original furniture intact here in the house. And a very unique museum home in that regard. Wallpapers and floor coverings, though, they're all recently installed reproductions of very popular patterns from the era, and I'd say they kind of represent a whole range of tastes. I always say the good, the bad, and then the foyer paper out here. Pan that for a minute.
Yeah, I did. Good, the bad, and the
And the
ugly.
foyer paper, right. And I always like to make it clear at the get-go here, I had nothing to do with picking out this wallpaper, guys. Okay. It's just supposed to give you the illusion of marble tile. Sometimes around lunchtime we think it looks like blue cheese.
Blue cheese.
Yeah. A housewarming gift when she received this home in 1865. Beyond that is a green chair in the far corner. That was General Grant's favorite chair, apparently, because he took that chair all the way from Galena to Washington, D.C. when he became president. And I'd say you have to love a chair to do that.
To do that.
Okay. This is the parlor.
This is all original furniture.
Yeah.
Yes, all original furniture. Of course, in those days, people, they didn't use their parlors more than sparingly because they wanted to keep them neat and clean with their best furniture intact for a special occasion, unexpected guests, such as you guys have come in and probably invite you to the parlor. Another thing is they use these parlors as funeral visitation rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? Strong, very durable, rather uncomfortable, but it looked good.
Horsehair and silk.
They used horses' manes and tails and wove with the hair that they received from those. They would weave a silk thread throughout it to achieve this fabric. But it wasn't comfortable. It was scratchy. It was hot, and it was slippery.
Huh.
Now this chair seems realistically kind of ridiculous, but actually it had a utility. It's called a woman's sewing rocker. And apparently she could be comfortably sitting in this chair and able to access her sewing supplies from either side on the floor there. But I often wonder, maybe she better have plenty of sewing to do there because she could get out of that chair very, very easily. On the second shelf in the corner, that's one of two oriental vases that were gifts from the Emperor of Japan. And the story behind that vase is we have documentation that it had to be sold along with its sister vase when he and his wife went bankrupt. Actually, they were flat busted that last year of his life. He was knowing that he knew that he was dying of this throat cancer, but he also knew that he had to do something about this this terrible financial deficit they were in. What had happened was, and I'll explain this as simply as possible because I don't know anything but the simple story. His son, his second-born son, Ulysses Grant Jr., Buck was his name, had very intelligently invested his father's money for a number of years, and they really felt themselves quite solvent and comfortable, not really wealthy by any means. But that same son had unwittingly involved himself in a business venture, a partnership actually, with a man of probably no scruples whatsoever. He kind of scammed the family into a business investment, a banking investment, which was beginning to fail. And he coerced General Grant into borrowing a vast amount of money from William Vanderbilt, who on a handshake gave it to the general to put in the bank to kind of prop it up for a while. Well, General Grant gave that money to Ward, the business partner of his son, who didn't put it in the bank, actually skipped town with it. And so he not only, the bank failed, but he also he owed all this money. In order to save face, he offered Vanderbilt his Civil War memorabilia. And Vanderbilt, he forgave the loan actually, because it was just a drop in the bucket for him, accepted in order for General Grant to save face. But after General Grant died, he, with the permission of Mrs. Grant, put all that Civil War memorabilia into the Smithsonian. That's why we don't have any of it here, or it's now at no other general grant site either. It is interesting. It's interesting to note also that he wrote his memoirs that last year. Something he had. Do you want me to start over?
No, you're fine.
Okay. The reason why they didn't eat in the kitchen was because that was a workroom. And sometimes the kitchens weren't even attached to homes, but this house always had theirs attached. And they just keep the doors shut, actually, to isolate the kitchen from the rest of the house. It's got a menacing dragon on it, and it's sitting on a teakwood table, intricately carved, a real stinker to dust, I might add. Both of these, though, were gifts from the citizens of Yokohama, Japan, while they were touring the world. Objects to achieve this look. But this is mostly the original artisan's work in this house. We're really very fortunate there.
Okay. We got a full grain on our wood here. So
I guess it's not that far from
actually pine made to look like oak.
near Toledo.
This is one of those steep staircases that goes up.
Very steep. The back one's even steeper.
There's Brother George climbing up there. This is Frederick Dent Grant's bedroom. He was born in 1850 and joined his father on several engagements in the Civil War. Married in 1874. And actually, this man served as minister to Austria-Hungary from 1880 or 1890 to 1893. This is President Grant's bedroom. He and his wife Julia slept in here. Here again we have the stove that's filled with embers and took off the chill and kept them snuggy warm. And this is Ellen Nellie Grant's room. She was born in 1855. Her father convinced her that the July 4th fireworks were in recognition of her birthday, because she was born on the 4th of July. Here's a little dressing room. See a little small sewing machine over there. This is a bedroom of Jesse Root Grant. He was born in 1858 in a cabin called Hardscrabble near St. Louis. He loved to challenge his father in wrestling and invariably won against the Man of Peace. Was an engineering student at Cornell University and got married and had children, and divorced, and he died in 1934 and was buried in San Francisco. This is the room of Ulysses S. Grant Jr., nicknamed Buck. Buck was a Harvard graduated in 1874, and went to Columbia Law School, where he graduated in 1876. Joint unsuccessful financial ventures left the Grant family penniless, resulting in President writing his memoirs, which were quite lucrative for the family after he passed away, as we heard our tour guide tell us. These are the back stairs. George is trying to negotiate these without falling on his backside. Very steep stairs. Here we get a view of George's bald spot as he goes down. Oh, okay.
The neighbor's yard, for all we know, it's still draining somewhere. But it certainly wasn't something people used very often. It wasn't something people had very often in their home either, that type of a bathtub.
Sheila's telling us about the bathtub that was the envy of the neighborhood because not too many people had it. Copper lined and drained outside when it was emptied.
That's right. You know, there was a woman in here a few weeks ago who was telling me that when she was a young girl, her grandfather had a bathtub like this. They used to ice skate. The grandkids did on the bathwater out in the backyard. And whenever they wanted a fresh, surface, they'd ask him to take them to that. But more likely than not, in those days, people were immersion bathing only seasonally. Basically, when they got well seasoned, not very long.
Well seasoned.
Sponge bathing is what we were doing in those days, more often.
This clock, Sheila, did you say it was 130 years old?
130 years old. It's 1868 vintage. Seth Thomas. We wind it every morning and evening, and it keeps on ticking.
Keeps on a ticking.
Keeps on ticking.
This, I got a word or two to say about this sink. This sink is lined with zinc. Makes it turn a little pink, but if you don't look real close and don't blink, you can see the zinc sink.
Take care of the kitchen work anyway. Could have used these to save time. Now, this is a cherry pitter. It's a double cherry pitter. We call it the deluxe cherry pitter. And this is an apple peeler. Egg beater. Now, it seems kind of extravagant to have these things, I suppose. But people weren't just pitting enough cherries or peeling enough apples for a couple of pies.
Okay, this is the pantry. You can see all the stuff in the pantry here. Some home preserved stuff.
All these pantries all but disappeared in many of these old homes once indoor plumbing arrived and they converted the room into the...
Here's the back of the U.S. Grant home, and this huge lilac bush is now a lilac tree, and it's in full bloom, and you can't smell it on the tape, but boy I can. It's just absolutely rich and full and beautiful, and I'm going to turn this off. Okay, this is a little exit or exhibit hall out behind the Grant home with a lot of interesting things posted on bulletin boards around. Okay, this shows General Grant in a photo which was taken in 1880, and he passed away not much long after that. There's a political cartoon from Puck, January of 1880. Galena welcomed the general home after his world tour, November of 1879. Okay, this is the General Grant home in Galena, Illinois.
I want you to note that in that room in there, that sitting room, there was a library. So we have just visited another presidential library. Sorry, I'm trying to wait when somebody came up behind me.
This is Monroe, Wisconsin. We're back into Wisconsin again. Just got into town. Looks like the railroad station down here.
Find a single combination.
This is a really attractive building right in the center of town. I'm not sure, well, it looks like a church, but I think it's probably something else. Okay, here's Big Brother. He's going to go ask somebody about a hotel. So let's see how he does. Walking across the street. We're in Monroe, Wisconsin. There he goes. He's going into Rub's Confectionery, whatever that is. Okay, here's a gentleman who recommended the Alporn Inn for us.
Okay, going to have me on tape so you don't lose the directions.
Won't forget it that way.
Okay, this is 11th Avenue, straight off the square here. You go to the first stop sign, which will be a couple blocks. It'll be 20th Avenue.
Okay.
Turn left on 20th Avenue, and go 2 stop signs. That'll be like two streets in between the stop signs. Now take down, I think it's 8th Street. Turn left again on 8th and take the first stop sign, take right. So it's over 1, down 2, left and right.
I just want to record the name of this place. It's a bunch of crock antiques. Okay, this is our room in Monroe, Wisconsin. This is the money back guarantee room. Andy from India gave us that guarantee. From India. Bombay, India.